Good evening, and welcome to Journeys with Judy. I'm Judy Porter, and I'm your host. I am an energy practitioner and teacher at Journeys Holistic Health and Wellness Center, as well as Etheric Connections Crystal Shop and Healing Center in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Journeys is in York, PA. If you're interested in booking a session with me, Jen will post my contact information in the comments section below. Jen Bucko is our executive producer, tech specialist, and creative advisor. She's the woman behind the scenes making everything happen. If you have any questions for our guest, post them in the comments below and Jen will ask them for you. Tonight, we have traveled to Brownstown, Pennsylvania, and are at the home of David A. Frederick. He is a homeopathic doctor that works out of Journeys Holistic Health and Wellness Center with me in York, PA. And the music you're hearing in the background is Dr. Dave as well. We came up early for a wonderful dinner that he cooked for us, and he was putting on a little concert for us as well. He is a musician, which we'll hear about later, and many other things. But the concert wasn't quite over yet, and Stacy, who's been on the show before, wouldn't quite let him leave until he played this live for her. She's been waiting over 1.5 years to hear it live. So he'll be with us momentarily, but until then, I'll tell you a little bit about Dr. Dave. Dr. David A. Frederick is an internationally known lecturer and educator. He holds degrees in psychology, neuropathy, homeopathy, complementary and alternative medicine, Chinese medicine, and Ayurveda. We'll find out what that is too. He's a fellow of the International Academy of Clinical Acupuncture, British Institute of Homeopathy, Royal Society of Medicine, London, England, and the American College of Forensic Science Examiners under Psychological Specialist, and is a board-certified alternative medical practitioner. Dr. Frederick taught and lectured at Beijing University in China, Chinese Second Medical College, and several TCM hospitals. Dr. Frederick developed a technique called Flash, which we'll hear about later, that can remove restrictive movements in under 5 minutes, and it is permanent. Now, he does say there are certain restrictions that apply. It can be used for pain management, stuttering, facial tics, sports enhancement, weight management, self-esteem, and much more. He is president of the World Institute of Integrated Health Sciences. Dr. Frederick travels extensively throughout the U.S. and abroad, teaching continuing education courses to healthcare providers. So I believe he has finished up and will be joining us as he says goodbye to Stacy. Now we're back into the house of cats. So we'll see if his cats love our tripod as much as all the other guests' cats have loved tripods. And here he is, Dr. David Frederick.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Thank you for having us at your home.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Dinner was amazing, and the concert was even better. They got to hear a little bit of you playing in the background while we were doing the introduction.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, I told them all about you. I basically read what's in your pamphlet about all your certifications and where you've taught and where you've lectured. So we're going to go ahead and get started if it's okay with you.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll start nice and easy. Where were you born and raised?
Springfield, Massachusetts.
Okay. And how long were you there?
Till about 17 years old.
Okay.
Then I joined the Navy.
Ah, the Navy moved you around. Now, where did you travel in the Navy?
All over.
All over.
I mean, yeah, it's just wherever the ship needed to go to take care of problems.
Okay. And what? How long were you in?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
And were you a specialist? Can you talk about what you did in the Navy or no?
Well.
Would you prefer not?
Yeah, I mean, I was, some people call it a gunner's, I was in charge of guns and special ammo and special things like that. Okay. So some people call me a gunner's mate, so they used to call me Gunny.
Oh. Okay. Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 2 boys and a girl. Yeah.
You have. Okay, so you have 2 brothers and a sister?
Well, yeah. No, siblings.
Siblings,
I'm
yes.
sorry. I thought
Not
you meant
children.
children.
No,
oh,
we'll get to
okay.
that.
No, siblings. Yeah, there's 5 of us.
Oh, okay. And where do you fall in line?
Yeah, I fall in line the second. So I
Okay.
have an older brother, then myself, and then my younger sister, and then my younger brother, and then my youngest sister.
Wow.
So there's 5 of us.
Okay. Now, did they stay up north in Massachusetts?
Yeah, they're up in pretty much in New England area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you visit often?
When I can, when I try to. Yeah, I try to get up and see everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. How would you describe your childhood?
Interesting.
Okay. Would you like to elaborate?
Well, I mean, I was, you know, as I was telling you in the other room, I mean, I took piano lessons when I was 10 years old, you know, so I went into that and then got into organs, but I was always, I don't know, kind of an adventurous sort of guy, inquisitive. I like chemistry sets and almost blew the house up once. And I literally launched the rocket in my basement through the kitchen floor.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, you know, adventurous.
So they never knew what was going to come out of you, huh?
Oh, God, no. Yeah, it was different. Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, I had a fun childhood, obviously. Very, very creative, you know, and a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. What is one of your fondest childhood memories? Can you pin it down to one, or we want to give us a few?
Well, to pin it down, it's really hard to say. I worked a lot when I was very young. I started working when I was 12. I worked on a milk truck.
Oh.
And we'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. This was during the summer when school was out. I'd get up at 12 o'clock in the morning and go up to the farm, and we would load up the milk truck with butter and milk and things and go deliver milk.
Oh, wow.
So I used to do that, and then I would basically clear fields and farmers' fields for, believe it or not, 50 cents an hour. Moving stones, you know, clearing the fields and stuff like that. And so I've been working since I was 12 years old in different jobs and things. So I started playing, believe it or not, professionally in clubs at 15.
Oh.
So I had to get special permission from the town in order for me to go into a nightclub and play, but I couldn't sit at the bar. You know, I had to sit at a table.
Okay.
But
Now, when you say play, you said you took piano lessons.
well, this was organs.
Okay. So you're
Because back in the early 60s, it was organs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
15 years old. playing
15
out.
years old. Yeah, I don't even know I should be telling this story, but it was interesting. My Uncle George gave me, he came home and he told my mother, he said, hey, so I got a job for David. He said, you know, and it pays $25. And that was a lot of money back in the 60s. You know, $25. He said, venison steak supper. So she said, oh, all right. So he took the organ, brought it down, set it up in this place. And I looked around, you know, I was up on this little stage. I looked around and it's like all the big muckamucks from the town, you know, were there. And it was a steak dinner. But all the curtains were drawn. And I'm like, this is kind of strange.
Right.
So anyway, everybody had their steak dinner and their supper dinner and everything else. And then they said, you need to come in the back room. Now, I remember I was like 15 years old.
Right.
So I went in the back room and there were these 2 women. One was Tex
Uh-oh.
and one was Candy.
Uh-oh.
And they said to me, all you've got to do is play St. Louis Blues or whatever, get up on stage there and leave the rest to us. Well, they were 2 very professional strippers. And I'm up on...
You're 15!
15. I'm up on stage and I'm playing St. Louis, and I'm like, you know, they started dancing around, and I mean, I took everything off. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, please, God, don't let him come up on the stage. Oh, please, don't let him come up.
And your uncle got this gig for you?
My uncle got this gig for me.
That's hilarious.
When my mother found out, she went ballistic.
Oh my gosh.
And my Uncle George was laughing like hell. He was just like laughing. He said, oh, it's good for him. He said, yes. And that's my break into show business.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had a very adventurous childhood.
Yeah, at 15 years old. It was, yes, that started my career.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So in all that goodness and creativity that was going on, did you have any struggles when you were a kid?
Well, I mean, we were borderline poor
Okay.
as a family. So I would work 2, 3 jobs sometimes to help my mother. Because my father traveled, he was never really ever home. He was a musician and he played in different states and things and clubs. So I always worked sometimes 2 and 3 jobs just to help out at the family because
So did all the kids work?
things got pretty tight. No, they were all younger than me. You know, it was just
Okay. You had one older.
yeah, but I was more of the
Gotcha.
responsible
Okay.
person at that point.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you had to mature very
Quickly.
quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah, I kind of like took the father place. Yeah.
Well, you know, I can understand why your Uncle George had that gig for you then.
Yeah, you wanted me to grow up real fast, you know.
So as a teenager, you still worked your way through helping.
Yeah, and I used to play out on Friday nights and Saturdays, so I didn't get a chance to go many dances or sock hops or things like that because I was playing out, you know, earning
You were working.
money. I was
Right.
working.
You were working.
Yeah, I was working.
Even though you loved to play, you were working.
Oh yeah,
You missed
absolutely.
out on a lot of your childhood. Okay.
Yeah.
What about as a young adult? You graduate from high school, you move on.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, I went to the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then
6 years?
when I got out of the Navy, I worked at a music store, and then I got married. I married my one of my best buddies' sisters.
Oh, okay.
You know, although she wouldn't go out with me for 2 years, she thought I was a scuzzy sailor. So,
Now, when
but
you
I
were,
wasn't. I was a really nice guy. You know.
When you were in the Navy, what did you find challenging about that? Or
Uh,
did you enjoy the travel?
Combination of things. I mean, when things got tough, you know, and bullets were flying, it wasn't fun.
I was going to say that's not so fun.
No, that's not fun. But other times, it was enjoyable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you enjoy the travel part of it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. In fact, in high school, you know, they used to have these songs next to your name. You know, in your yearbook.
Yeah.
You know, and somebody, I don't know who the committee was, but they put in the yearbook, they associated my name with the Traveling Man. You know, Ricky Nelson.
Yeah.
And boy, they didn't know.
They had no clue.
I had no clue that I ended up around the world many, many, many times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, traveling.
They predicted your future.
Apparently so, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Okay, so you get out of the Navy, you're working, you finally get the woman of your dreams to date you after 2 years.
Well, 2 years, yeah. It was a struggle. Yeah, and then basically I was doing a concert from a music store, and one of the company representatives saw me and said, "Look, would you like to do one of these big conferences that we do, and a concert and stuff like that?" So I said, "Sure." And it was down in Atlanta, Georgia, so I went down and did my first concert down there, and then they asked me if I would want to be on board as a concert artist, and then I went to England.
Oh, wow.
And I was
And this
22.
is all playing your organ.
This was organs at the
This
time.
is all organs at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was what the popular instrument was.
Right.
You know, and it was I was in England, and excuse me, and then I started touring. Yeah, all over Canada and Europe and United States and stuff like that, and then
And you weren't married at this point?
yes,
You were married.
Yeah.
Okay. And she traveled with you?
no,
Oh,
no, she was a stay-at-home mom.
okay. Oh, at 22, how many kids did you have at this point?
One.
Just one. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and did some traveling, you know.
All right.
But it was an exciting career, and it was very, very satisfying and enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked for a CBS affiliate. I was 23 years old, and I was the product manager and sales training director.
Oh.
So these old guys that would come in, you know, they used to give me a really hard time. I mean, I was 22 years old, you know, trying to tell them how to sell.
Exactly.
It was fun. But then I came out with my first record. Actually, my second record, yeah, because my first record I was, I think, 18 before I got married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I came out with the second record when I was like 22, 23.
So is it out there in cyber world? Could people
Oh yeah, all
Google
my
you and
records are
find
out
your
there.
records?
Yeah, all my synthesizer records and albums are out there. Yeah.
Are they on YouTube?
Some of them are, yeah, and then you just, I guess, go on the web and look up Dave Fredericks and art synthesizers, or I don't know if they still have the keyboards, organ and stuff like that, but
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Now, at what point did the synthesizers come into your life?
1969.
And how old were you then?
Oh God, I don't know.
It was almost 50 years
Probably.
ago because I was born in 69.
All right, so probably, I think I was 20, maybe 25, 24, something like that.
Okay.
But an album came out that was called Switched on Bach,
Okay.
and it was by Walter Carlos, who's, by the way, now Wendy Carlos, but it was
Oh.
Walter Carlos.
Okay.
And he did the first classical whole album on a synthesizer, and it was played at half speed, and it took him 2 years to do it.
Oh my
But it was a phenomenal record, and that's what got me blown away and said, I gotta have one of these, you know. And basically, that's what happened. A friend of mine out of Massachusetts was a very good keyboard player, and we used to talk about different things. And this was a Moog synthesizer at the time. And basically, he said, hey, he says, I heard about this company in Boston, and they got this thing, synthesizer. And next thing I know, he bought one. Didn't know what the hell to do with it.
Right.
Because back then, synthesizers only played one note at a time. That's it. And it's not like a piano or an organ. It was one note at a time. And the inventor, I mean, basically, it was mostly for recording studios, some early, not really performances, but mostly for school education, and just because synthesizers can make all kinds of cool sounds.
Okay.
So he said, you gotta see this. So I went up and I saw it, and it was an ARP. And I'm like, what's an ARP? And it was this box about this big with a bunch of holes in it with cables you plugged in and out. And he said, he said, I have no idea what this is. Well, there's no owner's manual. So he said, take it home and play with it. So I took it home and played with it. And 3 weeks later, he had me doing a concert.
Oh, wow.
And
it played one note at a time.
Yeah. And, well, I played it with an organ.
Okay.
You know, but it was one note at a time. And basically, I guess the owners found out that I was doing this live because no one ever heard it played live before. It was not possible.
Right.
Musically, you know, without recordings and overdubbing. So they came down and saw me, and I don't know, I just knew how to do it. I knew all the wires and what to plug in and things, and I did this concert, and I had trains pulling out of the station, and I had ocean waves coming in, and all kinds of cool sounds, trumpets and things, and they never heard that before. Blew them away. And so Alan Perlman, who was Mr. ARP, who developed that particular model, they came and asked me to join the company. And so I joined the company in sales, and I basically had to find salesmen. But the problem was there was nobody who knew anything about synthesizers.
Right.
So I had to get organ salesmen. I had to steal them
then
from
you
companies.
had to educate them.
And then I had to teach them.
Yeah.
This is what a synthesizer is. This is what you can do with it. No one ever taught me. I just knew how to do it. It was just kind of like I knew. So I taught them and built a sales force, and then I set up distributors and dealers throughout the United States and Europe. Did concerts all over with them. And then after that, basically developed all the future synthesizers for the company. Wow. I came up with all the ideas of all the products and all the different ones that we had that we used. And then I ended up working with Stevie Wonder, and then working with the Moody Blues and George Harrison and the Beatles, Billy Preston, Keith Emerson and I, we used to hang together in England and places like that. And so I did a lot of those different things and developed these different products. So it was quite a career.
And all this started when you were 25.
24.
24.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a trip.
Now, how long did it take you to develop the synthesizer that we see now, that model?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like you get into this very creative, it was very exciting because it was pioneering.
Yeah.
Nobody ever heard this stuff. So I hired this young guy. He was 18 years old, and he was part-time. He was going to college. I saw him at a music store. He was doing an organ concert. And I said, this could be a young man that I could train to be a product specialist, to demonstrate that.
Right.
So to make a very long story short, which is almost 50 years, because that's what he is now. And I got him to join the company part-time. Then he came on board full-time. And then we hired another guy from Connecticut, Tom Piggott, and Tom was a school teacher, and he taught a little bit of synthesizers, the company called Electrocomp, and it was, again, one note at a time at making sounds and different waveforms and things. And we brought him on board to write one of the books for Introduction to Synthesizers. So now I had these two guys, besides the reps that I trained, and I'm thinking, how's the world going to hear us? How are they going to know what this thing sounds like? Because again, one note at a time, that was it. How do you play chords and all kinds of stuff? So I put together Mike and Tom, and we were doing this huge convention in Chicago. And in this convention in Chicago, I decided, you know what? dealers from all over the world and people from all over the world and musicians and everybody else is going to come to this big convention. I said, so let's do a concert. And what I did was at the Hilton in Chicago, they had a huge, it wasn't a restaurant, it was like a club, but it was huge.
Okay.
And what I did was basically, I paid the band off and said, go home.
I got this.
I got this, yeah, spent 3 days. And we put together this show, the three of us. So there were basically, I think 9, maybe 10 synthesizers, or like 3 or 4 each. And we had a live drummer, percussionist. And that show, I made it so it was really funny. Talk about crazy ideas. It was called the NAMM Jam.
Okay.
Because the name of the convention was the NAMM music show. And it was a jam, because we were like rocking and playing. So I decided, oh, this ought to be cool. So I went and I bought something like, I don't know, 10 cases of strawberry jam. I got this idea, and then I got one of the guys, one of the engineers actually at the factory, to come out and peel all the labels off of it, put them in hot water, take the labels off, and then put this label on called our NAMM Jam. And then ingredients, Dave Fredericks, Mike Brigida, Tom Piggott, and then the name of the synthesizers we were performing. And I had that as giveaways on the tables.
Oh, nice.
Plus I had napkins, and I had a few other things that we had, plus an art pen that we had worked with. This is really cool. And we did our first show, and we did it in surround sound. Back then, it was unheard of.
Right.
But we had, do you remember, I don't know if you remember, the movie that was Earthquake, and they had earthquake speakers and in theaters. These were huge speakers. Well, we had those in the place, plus a bunch of Bose speakers all over the place. And I remember one time I was doing a seaplane taking off in the harbor. And we did it, and it took off, and in surround sound, it went around the whole room, and it was something that nobody ever had heard before. And we did, it was like standing room only. People were out in lines, way out, trying to get in. So we made it hard for everybody to get in.
Right.
I had one of my salesmen who was a big guy. He was sort of like the bouncers that they have today. So we made it so it was tough for people to get in, to create that mystique that you got to see this.
Right.
And it was like a phenomenal hit, because no one had ever heard a synthesizer played musically, let alone 3 guys playing 12 synthesizers in surround sound.
Oh, wow.
It was phenomenal. And that set the world on fire as to what they were, and that started really expanding business and so on.
And that's when you got to start working with Stevie Wonder and the Beatles. And
all those guys, yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Pioneering.
Yeah, it was pioneering.
It was pioneering.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay in the music business?
Well, I still am.
I was going to say.
Right now, I basically do consulting.
Okay. And
for
you
companies.
just recently lost your mentor.
Yeah. Alan R. Perlman, he was the one who developed the beginning of the 2 synthesizers that he was famous for,
Right.
the 2600 and 2500. And he just passed away about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I went to Boston, I did his eulogy, delivered his eulogy and stuff like that. But all the other synthesizers from that model on, I developed at the company.
Right.
So, yeah, it was crazy. There's some wild stories about that too, on how those things came about,
Okay.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So at what point, you're up to your eyebrows in the music business. At what point did you start your spiritual journey?
Oh gosh, since I was 10 years old.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So it is something that's always been with you?
It's been always
since
with
10.
me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you use it throughout?
Well, music is healing.
Absolutely.
And music, is, you can make people laugh, you can make them cry. So the concerts that we did all of that to elicit these kinds of emotions. Obviously, this is what music does. And but ever since I was very, very young, I always had this compassion, this desire, but this drive to ask why. So I started my journey, and I was raised in the Catholic faith, and our priest was Irish, and he'd always say, you can't play with your friends because they're a Protestant. So I'm sitting there going, there's something wrong with this picture. They're going to go to hell, I'm going to heaven because I'm Catholic. There's something wrong with this picture. So that started my inquiring in Quest. See, I was an altar boy since I was 7 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was brought up, all the way up till I was like 16, I think, before I went in the service, 17. I mean, I was next to the priest,
Right.
and I was a little guy that got to do the incense and got to do all the cool stuff,
Right.
But I started asking a lot of questions, And so I started, I was playing in a club down in Rhode Island, and I'd pick up my brother. I was still in the service. I'd have weekend liberty and weekends off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go back to Massachusetts, pick him up. I taught him how to play the drums, and we came down, and he would play in a club with me. And then on Sunday nights, I'd drive him back to Massachusetts and then go back to the Navy base. So, yeah, it was interesting. But on one of the drives down, there was a radio show in Boston, talk show, and it was a person by the name of Harold Sherman. And he wrote a book called How to Make ESP Work for You. I'm thinking, wow, this is really cool, because I was like interested in that kind of stuff. And anyway, I ended up connecting with him and got a copy of his book. And we ended up being like father-son for 25 years. Every time I come out with an album, every time he came out with a book, he'd send it to me autographed. I'd send an album to him autographed. And it was very powerful. He was the head of the ESP Research Foundation in Little Rock, Arkansas. So that started my journey on mind thinking, communications, ESP, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a lot of studying on metaphysics, metaphysical sciences, frontier fellowship sciences, just spirituality, spiritual frontiers, all of that stuff, and in reincarnation, the psychology behind it. I was always interested. So,
and you're doing all this education
while I was doing everything else.
While you're doing everything else.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got to travel around the world, so I ended up literally being taught by Tibetan monks, a Zen master that I had, a yogi, and in Hawaii over 40 years by 5 kahunas. The real ones, not the popcorn ones they have today. What I call popcorn kahunas. These were the real deal. It was 4 men and 1 woman that was taught me the ancient sciences, a lot of the secrets. And at the same time, I was very interested in religion and philosophy and psychology, so I studied that. And I studied the Aramaic language, which was the, Syriac language, which is a sister language to Hebrew.
Okay.
And I did a lot of studies over the years with that. I had a few mentors that did a lot of the translations from the Bible based on Aramaic, and all the mistakes that are in the Bible, like maybe 12,000, let alone 1,000 idioms. So I learned it quite a bit. I learned some Aramaic, and I studied that very, very, very deeply as to knowing all of what goes on there. So I'm very well versed in that, and the history of world religions and psychology as well. Yeah, and yes, I'm doing all that while I'm doing everything else and traveling around the world.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, it's a drive, you just, again, you get to the point where you have to know. And while I was in the music, actively in the music business, I always knew that I'd leave that pretty much full-time one day, and that I wanted to counsel and teach and help people.
Okay.
So, I studied psychology, I studied metaphysics, I had my undergrad in metapsychology, then I went into and got my doctorate in metaphysical sciences, and went on to school and then finished my PhD in psychology. And then I got into the healing sciences, and then I got my doctorate in complementary alternative medicine. And then I got my doctor of naturopathic medicine, doctor of homeopathic medicine. I know it sounds weird. And then I got my degree in homeopathic medicine and from the British Institute. And then Ayurvedic medicine, I studied under Indian doctors and pediatricians and things, and got my degree in Ayurvedic medicine, which is from India.
Okay.
Then I studied Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and I led a delegation to China for the government, and I lectured at Beijing University and Shanghai Second Medical College, some of the TCM hospitals. So yeah, I became very active in that field and developed about 8 different courses that I teach now.
Right.
I just came back the other day from a course in New York that I was teaching.
And you teach all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was in Switzerland about 1.5 years ago for about 14 days, and I taught healthcare professionals, dentists, and doctors, and people like that. Yeah.
Yeah. when I first got to Journeys, and I talked about, putting things on Facebook and getting a Facebook page together for us, I was doing bios for everybody. And it was funny because I think it might have been Jen or Stacy. I typed up your bio and then I called them and I was like, I don't even know what half of this shit means. What does he do? I mean, it's fascinating, everything that you have certifications and doctorates in. And I guess from there, in layman's terms, you're certified in many different modalities. What was how do you help people? They just heard all that. With me, it made my head spin. So
my specialty is helping people with special problems, chronic illness.
Okay.
I deal with everything from cancer to Lyme disease, and all kinds of chronic conditions, digestive problems, a lot of pain management. I developed a technique. This is kind of weird, I know. Well, I'm kind of weird, I guess. If
I actually have this technique in my questions. I was going to ask you about it. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I developed a technique that actually it came to me in a dream, and basically it helps people to remove restrictive movement in under 5 minutes. So people that can't move their arm this way or this way or this way or this way, 4 to 5 minutes, I fix them permanently. Even when neurologists said they have to live with it for the rest of their life.
But you fix it.
And I've demonstrated this at conferences every single year. It's like a revival. I'll pull people out of the audience that can't move their arms or can't do something, and I fix them in 4 minutes.
And it's permanent.
Yeah, it's permanent. Wow. I had this one guy sitting in the front row 2 years ago. Had a suit on. And I knew he was a medical doctor. And he's sitting there, very astute. And I went up and I fixed this one person who couldn't move their arms. I fixed another lady who couldn't twist her back from a car accident and everything else. And she was good to go. And I had somebody else that couldn't move their arm. I had him walk up a wall, and then back down, and then fix him 4 minutes. They could walk all the way up, So this guy raises his hand, and he said, I have a problem with my neck. He said, do you think I can fix it? Then he announced, he says, I'm a medical doctor. He says, and I do research in cancer. Mm-hmm. He said, but my hobby is racing cars. Mm-hmm. And he said, 2 years ago, he says, I hit a wall. Oh. And he said, I hurt my neck to the point where I can't move it more than like 5 degrees, either way. Mm-hmm. And they've been everywhere. He's done everything. I mean, he's a medical doctor. So I said, all right, come on down. So he came up, and 4 minutes.
And that's it.
That's it. I fixed him with this technique, and he could move his head 100%, and he was just blown away.
Now, when I read the bio, it does say some restrictions apply. What would they be?
The restrictions are secondary gain.
What does that mean?
That means in chronic illness, a lot of people, they don't want to get well. They want to get better, but not well. And some people have secondary gain means there's a reason. If I turn around and I fix you, you may have to go back to work. You may have to cut the grass. You may have to do the dishes. You may have to help around the house.
Right.
You see, whereas when you had this problem, you didn't have to do all that stuff.
Right.
That's called secondary gain.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of, not a lot, but a number of people have that. So you have to make sure that there's no secondary gain, so that they sabotage, what they're doing.
Right.
That's the reason. That's why I said some restrictions.
Gotcha.
That's the reason for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because not everybody that comes to you, not everybody's 100% cooperative. They have a hidden agenda.
They're not quite ready.
No, they have a hidden agenda sometimes, and that's their choice. I'm not going to convince them otherwise. It's your choice.
Now, do you teach this technique?
Oh yeah, all over.
Yeah.
At conventions, I get emails from Europe and Japan saying that they got the technique, and they were like creating amazing things. It's not just for restrictive movement. Mm-hmm. It's for facial tics, stuttering. Huh. They can fix it. People have had it for years, and 4 minutes, done. And I teach this. I have a DVD that's a training DVD for healthcare professionals to learn how to do this.
Why isn't it more heard of out there? I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. But I basically do it at conventions.
Yeah.
But see, I don't travel like I used to.
Okay.
And I don't travel and do all the conventions like I used to anymore. So, but I do. I mean, because when I train people at the convention, they go out and then they help people.
Right.
from all over.
It's a healing modality. It's almost like Reiki.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
a
you
very,
learn
very
Reiki and then
strong,
you go and you do it.
It's a very strong healing modality.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's quick.
That's very cool.
Now, it doesn't work 100% because, again, secondary gain,
Right,
if somebody is not ready, they're not ready.
right. Well, it's like any other energy.
Well, they want to get a little better.
If you're not open to it, then it'll
It's
only
like-
do what you
it's-
allow it to do.
I had this woman call me one time. She says, I drink 7 martinis a night. She says, could you hypnotize me so I only drink 2 martinis? I'm like, I don't think so.
That's hilarious. So,
Yeah.
you do hypnotherapy as well.
Yeah, clinical hypnotherapy, Chinese, meridian, acupuncture, homeopathic medicine, yeah, the whole, the whole thing.
gamut.
NLP, yeah, I deal a lot with also stress, anxiety, depression. A lot of people that come to me for that too.
Okay.
Yeah, to work with them. Yeah.
Now, do you work hand in hand with the medical professionals?
Sometimes I'll get a referral, or I'll be talking to a medical doctor somewhere. I mean, sometimes people will come to me from Canada or California because their doctor or somebody saw me at a convention and saw me lecture, and they up against a wall, and are saying, hey, you know what? I saw this guy. He did this. He did that. Everything else. Why don't you give him a call?
Okay.
And then next thing you know.
You're getting a call from Canada?
Yeah, I've had people from all over. I mean, I even had an Iranian woman, fly in to see me, and people from Mexico, Canada.
Now, it's funny. Stacy and I were talking one day, and we were talking about how your patient load has decreased a bit because you worked to heal people.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not the typical Western medicine doctor that's out there where they just treat the symptom.
No, the goal is to fix them and let them go live their life.
Yes, and that's what happens with you.
And that's what happens.
Yes,
That's
your
right.
patients come, you work with them.
So it runs in
then you-
cycles.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I tell them that. I said, all right, I said, you're looking good, you're looking great. I said, next time maybe I see you, we'll be at a grocery store or at the mall. I said, other than that, I don't want to see you.
Yep, and that's it's not what people are used to. I mean, my sister deals with chronic. She has a chronic illness. She has chronic fatigue and ME, and it's been 12 years that she's been bounced around from doctor to doctor, and
The medical system, I mean, they have, they're taught a certain way to treat certain conditions, and that's their scope of practice. They don't know anything else.
Yeah.
So with me, it's different because I have all these different modalities and different ways of looking at a problem.
Yeah, you do.
So it's different.
Okay, so let's go back to you being in the music business. You're doing all this training and educating yourself at the same time.
Right.
You're creating these musical events. You're creating your albums. For all of those, is all of your music created in the intention of healing?
Well, it's a combination of healing and, I guess, entertainment. Because if people really like some of the really nice arrangements that I do, it's healing, but it's also relaxing and it's entertainment. But I mean, the only thing that you can't heal is certain types of music. A number of years ago, in the studies of musicology, when you study, there was a study done by young kids that used to go to heavy metal bands, and acid rock groups and things like that. And they would come with maybe a 1 minute parboiled egg. And they would take it and they'd run it up on the stage and they'd put it up on the stage. Okay, and then during halftime at the break, they would run up and they would take the egg and they'd be able to peel it and eat it. It was hard boiled.
Oh my gosh.
And that's from the scrambled energy, just from the heavy metal and the rock music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it will fry your brain. So, the next morning when you ask your child, how was the concert last night? And they go, huh?
They really don't know.
Their brain's scrambled. Yeah, it can do that to you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's been a lot of studies done on that. There was a woman in Colorado did an experiment one time, and she took petunias, and she took put them in one room of the house, and then she took another pot of petunias and put them in the other room of the house, the other end of the house, and then she played heavy metal rock music on one petunia and classical music on the other petunia. In 2 weeks, the one in the heavy metal died.
Oh.
They did the same thing with a couple of rats. They put them in a large maze, and at one end they played heavy metal music, and at another end they played light classical music. And all the rats found their way through the maze to the classical music.
Oh.
So a lot of these studies have been done
Right.
on how it affects your immune system.
Huh.
You know, I mean that's really the key. It's how does music affect your immune system? Because everything is vibration.
Right.
You know, that's what Einstein says. The whole universe is vibration.
Right.
And that's basically what it is. That's, you know, what I teach. I do these one-day workshops on sound, energy, and music as a healing modality. And that's what it is. It's how does it affect our immune system? What does it do to our moods? You know, because everything is vibration. Color is vibration.
Right.
You're going to feel good wearing what you're wearing right now. But if I put a crappy brown on you, you wouldn't be as comfortable, as excited as you are right now with the color that you have. Because the vibrations affect our system.
Right.
It affects our psyche, our emotions, and our physiology of our body. Yeah, color does that.
Okay, so when you're laying out a treatment plan for one of your patients, would you include sound therapy with it? Music therapy?
Yeah, depending upon the patient and what's going on with them.
Okay.
But I have CDs that I have. One is for stress, one is for weight, one is for smoking, and one is for self-esteem. And the music that I have is timed for the rhythm for your heart.
Oh.
So when you listen to my voice and I'm guiding you on this little journey, it's sort of a self-hypnosis type thing. This music is paced at a certain pace to do that.
So it's very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that's a meditation or no, a guided hypnosis?
Well, it's a guided, it's you can call it a meditation. Basically, it's just a guided imagery.
Okay.
You know, you're painting pictures, you're using words, you're using music, and you're trying to make an impression on the subconscious mind. See, it's the subconscious mind that holds all the memories, all the hurts, all the anger, all the frustration. And it's in your solar plexus region, by the way. It's 3 inches below your belly button.
Yes.
It's not up here in your heart.
Okay.
You know, I know Valentine's Day is coming, you know, and everybody wants to sell chocolate, but they have the heart. But basically, the Greeks invented that, you know, with the arrow. It's basically your emotions are down here in your solar plexus region.
Okay.
You know, I mean, yes, music and stuff does, of course, affect your heart, affects your whole body.
Right.
You know, anger. When you have anger that you've held in for years and years and years. Statistically, you find that people who end up having cancer, usually it's liver cancer. And liver cancer, because liver is associated with anger, according to Chinese medicine and the Chinese system.
Okay.
You see, so certain parts of our body react differently according to types of emotion that we have.
Okay.
Now, that can affect us. Yeah.
Now, if you find somebody that has like Lyme's or a chronic ailment, what emotion is suppressed there? Is it a variety of different things, or?
Everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Okay.
I mean, when somebody is diagnosed properly with Lyme, there's a lot of misdiagnosis going on with Lyme. But when it's done right, I mean, I use a special lab from Germany that uses a different method than the standard U.S. labs, which is much more right to the point. So this guy's a genius.
Oh, wow.
But basically, when were you bitten? How long? Did you have a rash? Did you have a spot? If you didn't, did you have 3 markers out of 5 markers if you had a DNA strand test? So it all depends on that. Plus what aggravates that too can be your diet, which is a lot of problems with chronic illness. People's diet, they eat a lot of acidic foods, and that can really irritate your body system. And it depends on your emotional state. People that have true Lyme and have had it for a long time end up having problems with anxiety. And you know, and even depression. Yeah, because chronic pain can wear you down.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it definitely does. Yeah, there's no question about it.
Okay. So the CDs you were talking about, now does that come along with a course that you teach, or can people reach out to you and purchase these CDs? No.
No, this comes with my
Treatment.
patients'
Okay.
treatment.
With treatment. Okay.
Yeah. Now, when I teach a course, like I just finished in New York, I've got three CDs that goes with the course, so they get to hear my voice, they get to hear exactly how I do it, even though I've taught them in class.
Right.
This is a nice follow-up and reinforcement
Oh, absolutely.
that they have for them.
A lot of times in those courses, there's so much information that comes
So,
in.
yeah.
What a gift it is for you to send that CD with them.
Yeah, I try to do follow-up. My whole theory of teaching is basically didactic, presentation, and then demonstration, then participation, and then reinforcement.
Okay.
And then you get to really understand the material,
And work it through.
what
yeah.
you're doing. Yeah.
That's great.
My biggest problem in teaching courses is I forget to take bathroom breaks. Well, because you see, in a former life I was a camel, so I could hold water up to 2 weeks. So,
Everybody's like, excuse me.
yeah, my students have got to remind me. I can see, I can see the eyeballs filling up. I'm thinking, okay, it's time. But
That's funny. Now, you are going to be teaching a class at Journeys.
Yep. Yeah, it's a one-day workshop.
It's a one-day workshop on
Sound, energy, and music as a healing modality.
as a healing modality.
Yeah, how music affects us, the sounds, how it affects us. Some cool stuff that I'm going to have people doing some cool exercises that they're going to have. Like, for instance, we actually going to get the class to bend spoons.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yes,
That's
it's using energy, a specific energy that you'll draw in, basically from the universe around you, the energy that's everywhere. And you condense it and you channel it, and then you actually change the molecules in the metal so that it softens it enough for you to just go, whoop.
Wow.
I just did it last week. On Friday night I had a course. It was fun, great. Blew people's minds.
Can you put that in the comments if anybody wants to take the?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. There was still. I heard this on the down low from your friend Stacy.
Gotta watch out for her.
Yes, she was speaking to a friend of yours who likes to attend all of your classes, a doctor friend, and he said something about you need to rebirth the course you used to teach of walking on fire.
Oh. Firewalk.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, I used to do firewalks,
Yeah.
and it's gotten to be much more difficult today than it was 20 years ago. The
Okay.
town ordinances, I used to do them on the green at hotels.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You could burn up a cord of wood. It was pretty interesting. And people would come out of their hotel rooms and like, what's going on? This big, huge bonfire,
What is he doing?
burning it down the ash because they had to burn it all day.
Right.
But with the insurance and with the laws right now, you had to have a fire department there. You're burning a cord of wood in an open space,
Right.
and it became extremely difficult to do it. But I do have to say, out of all the fireworks that I did, firewalks, no one ever got burned. Whereas there are other famous people out there, who I'm not going to mention, that are very famous, NLP people and stuff, that have burned people
Ooh. And how long
and sent
did
them
you?
to the hospital.
How long did you do firewalks and teach it?
Well, it's a basically a one-day thing when you start early in the morning and then you do it at night. It's a conditioning.
Okay.
It has to be. Actually, we did a 2-day. I'm sorry, because we did it from the Hawaiian perspective of healing and understanding energy and vibration and things like that. I had 38 people walk. Now that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, out of the 38, 32 walked.
Oh wow. And not one of them got burned.
In fact, my daughter walked twice.
Woo.
Yeah, she walked twice, and it's pretty powerful. We had the tiki torches going and the drums and the whole thing. It was interesting because one person, she was a karate teacher and a karate instructor. She was like, yeah, tough. Well, when it came up to walk,
She didn't do it.
she didn't do it. And if you're not convinced, if I see that slightest fear in your eyes, you're not going to walk.
You're not gonna do it.
No. But we didn't have anybody ever in all the walks. No. Not if you prepare people right and they understand how to channel that energy. Then it's no problem. And my firewalks aren't these little skimpy ones. that you see, some of these commercial places that people do this stuff. I mean, my firewalk was about this wide. What is that? 3 feet, maybe 4 feet wide, and probably I would say 10 feet long, 1,400 degrees. Yeah, it was cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this person doesn't realize, and now I know who it is, and I know he's out on a farm, and he's got the.
I was gonna say,
area.
he said he's got the place.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You have to have a fire tender. That person has to be there all day watching that fire. Making sure it is right and it is burned down right for the evening.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, so I haven't done one in quite a while.
Quite some time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting sitting here from my perspective where I got into energy work from Reiki. Anybody who watches the show knows that Reiki is my gateway drug.
Right.
Whereas you approach it from a very scientific left brain approach where
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I have a doctorate in metaphysical sciences. I'm a Reiki master.
yeah.
So.
No, I'm just saying you had the why.
Yeah.
Why? I was just amazed and fascinated that I could do it. Whereas you were like, why? Why does this happen? And then you went through all that education and you have all that knowledge. And it all boils down to energy.
That's all it is.
Energy and vibration.
That's all it is. If you study any ancient system, any religion, any psychology, as far as ancient psychology goes, and it's all energy. When you study Zen, people think Zen is a religion. It's not a religion at all. Nor is Buddhism. It's not a religion. It's a practice. And it's a way of life. That's basically what it is. Yeah. And it's getting in touch, and grounding. And it's basically what I say, disappearing. It's about the ego disappearing. You can't shift until the ego disappears. That's really the key. And there are different disciplines and ways of doing that. But, if you want the unknown to become known, then you have to be disciplined and understanding how to do that. That's the key.
Now, out of all the certifications and the knowledge that you have, you said you're a Reiki master. What modality do you favor? Do you favor your flash because that's something that came
that's
to
from
you?
a health side. When I get into the healing and the hearts of health, then the flash works as a very good tool.
Okay.
I mean, I have a lot of other tools. I have a convention coming up, and I'm going to be lecturing on 2 things. 3 things. One is Huna, which is the ancient Hawaiian healing. Huna means secret, and all the secret knowledge. But I can't give all the secret knowledge.
Because it's a secret.
Yeah, because it's a secret. That's what Huna means. Well, it's because it's not for everybody.
Right.
And basically, some people are just not ready to that kind of knowledge. I mean, even Jesus, when he was sitting down and hanging out with his group, they're saying on the Sermon on the Mount, they're saying, how come you talk to them in a very simple way, and yet you talk to us in a totally different way? Just because they don't understand. I mean, we're talking about sheep herders and goat herders and camel jockeys. I mean, they didn't have a degree.
Right.
I mean, they're just very, very basic, earthy people.
Right.
So you have to talk to them in a completely different way than you would talk to somebody who is more educated and knows how to, has the capacity to understand what you're saying.
Right. Meet them where they're at.
You have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be like talking calculus to a 5-year-old. It's not going to happen. So
it was like me typing up your bio. What the hell is all that?
So Huna means secret, and one of the reasons too is because the white man really screwed him over. Big time. I mean, almost wiped out 3/4 of all of the people on the islands. Captain Cook and his favorite happy campers. Ooh. Yeah, with syphilis and venereal diseases and all kinds of stuff. They just about destroyed all the natives. Ooh. So you can't be that willing to say, I'll show you my secrets of life.
Exactly.
No. Don't tell those people that,
Right.
You can't trust them. No. Even today, it's very hush-hush in the family.
Oh, wow.
You don't share it with haoles.
Haoles?
Haoles. Everybody, when you go to Hawaii, everybody says, oh, you're all not from the island, so you're all hollies. It's not hollies.
It's not hollies.
No, that's a bastardized version of what it really is. It's haoles. It means without breath.
Oh.
because back when Hiva saw the people coming from the, I always say those wonderful missionaries from New Bedford that screwed everybody over. When they came, they were supposed to have a church and work these miracles. They talked about this man who could raise the dead, which was Jesus supposedly, and all this kind of stuff. So they built this church. Took them 2 years, and they got there. They brought their sick and stuff. Said, "Okay, you guys are supposed to be really cool. Do something." And he said all they did was get up and say a few words, and that was it. So the Hawaiians were looking and they're saying, "Wow, this is not right. This is kind of weird. These people don't breathe life into their prayers." See? So they ended up calling them the breathless ones.
Gotcha.
And that's what ha'oli means, without breath. Because they didn't breathe life into their prayers. Put any energy into it.
It was just words.
No. It's the same thing. If you're in a Catholic church and you stand there halfway through Mass and the priest says, "And now the Holy Gospel," everybody goes, gets up. Boom.
Yeah.
And they're like robots. Or when they say the Lord's Prayer, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer, everybody gets up. Boom. And they stand there and they bow their head and they go, "Our Father, who art in heaven, and it's like this monotone nothingness.
Yes.
See, they're ha'olis.
Yes.
You see?
I have a friend who grew up Catholic, and the only way she could go on family vacation with us is if she would go to church. So I would go to church with her. And I called it Catholic aerobics. It was up, it was down, it was kneeling, it was sitting. It was,
Well, that's ritual.
She genuflected, I almost flipped over because I was like, "What the hell are you doing? Did you fall?" Yeah.
It's ritual.
It's ritual.
Yeah, it's ritual.
It's ritual.
But the prayers are monotone. There's no life in them.
No.
So that's what that meant. So the real term is ha'olis.
Ha'olis.
Okay, which actually ended up representing foreigners.
Okay. Gotcha.
See, so now you learn something. See?
Yeah. I always learn
That'll be
something.
$5, please.
Always. All right. So we're starting with your sound therapy. Sound energy
and
music class at Journeys. We're trying to hook you into teaching many more. So Jen put the information up. If somebody wants to check you out, do you have a website they can go to?
Yeah, unfortunately it's not up to date. I'm meeting with the people who are supposedly handling the web and try to get it updated.
Okay.
As to what we have, for the courses and things like that. But yeah, a lot of people at Journeys has been asking to do, I don't know why, but like Sally, they want Ayurvedic.
Yes.
And I'm like,
That's one
I don't think
always
people
about.
don't even know how to pronounce it, let alone know what Ayurveda is, which is basically Indian medicine. See, the World Health Organization approved and recognizes only 2 natural healing systems.
Okay.
The World Health Organization. Okay, one is Chinese medicine and acupuncture.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is Ayurvedic medicine,
Okay.
which is from India, because both have 2 billion people.
Mm.
And they've been keeping this medicine alive for, thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mapping system of acupuncture is phenomenal. But nobody knows, most people don't know that Ayurvedic also has an acupuncture system
Oh.
and a whole system. It's called Marma therapy, which means vital points.
There you go.
And most people don't know that. It's a whole system. So I teach the course in Ayurvedic medicine, but I also teach just a short course on knowing your doshas and pulse diagnosis and how to determine it. Who's the frog, who's the snake, who's the swan, how does it affect your body, and how can you calm down certain things in your body by regulating pulses.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
All right. No, very cool. So if people want to check you out, even though your website, because you do, it's, what is it, Mind Body?
Well, Mind Body Health Consultants is my regular treatment, but the courses that I teach are World Institute of Integrative Health Sciences.
Okay.
That's different.
Okay. Do you have a website yourself? Not Journeys?
just those 2.
Okay.
The World Institute and Mind Body Health
Mind Body Health.
are the 2 websites.
Okay.
Yeah, they need to be updated, which they will be.
Okay. Now, if somebody wanted to schedule a appointment with you, consult, how would they reach you?
Call me.
Call you. Would you like to give your number?
I'd be happy to. 717-344-0075.
Excellent. We have a lot of people that are new to spirituality and beginning this journey. Some people are struggling through at this point. The energy of 2019 is pretty hectic. Do you have any words of wisdom you would like to leave them with?
Well, I think the biggest challenge we have today is a lot of people Now, I've been working with people for 22 years in private practice, besides the music thing. 90% of my patients are women.
Okay.
And what I have found in talking with them, and they share things with me that they don't even tell their best friend. So that shows you that there's a trust there.
Yes.
You know, I'm very grateful that they want to share that with me. But they tell me some things that I really don't need to know, you know. But it's like, I really don't need to know that. But anyway, a lot of them go from church to church to church, and they're not getting what they're getting. Because the problem is more and more people I see cropping up are not really looking at being religious, but moving towards being spiritual. Because that's a whole different bag. You don't accept or get tied into somebody else's ideology.
Yeah.
See, for me, unconditional love is one of the biggest challenges that I think the human race has. Okay, because if it's true unconditional love, then it should rise above all gender, all social, political, and religious ideologies. That's true unconditional love.
Yes.
But most people try to think they practice that, particularly people who are in metaphysics, and they're not. You know, they all say, well, you know, it's okay to die, but don't get sick. Because if you get sick, see, something's wrong with you. You know, so it's judgment time.
Right.
That's ridiculous. It's a journey. Everybody's on a journey. So, you know, how do you get in touch with that higher something? What is that higher something? You know, everybody talks about God. God, 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 God. Do you know where the name God came from? Does anybody ever ask that? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
See?
Yeah, I don't.
Nobody knows. Right now, you're going to know. It actually came in the 6th century, and it was coined by the Germans. Gut. That's God. And it means good.
Oh.
That's what it means. It's not some Santa Claus, an anthropomorphic being sitting up there on a throne judging people.
Right.
You see?
It's just good.
It's just gut.
Huh.
Yeah, that's where the name came from. Yeah, it didn't fall out of the sky.
Right.
You see, that's where it came from. I mean, I've been studying this religion and philosophy and psychology going back to the ancient Aramaic. I studied also Egypt, Egyptology, you know, the Vedas. I mean, you didn't see some of my books in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's stuff. When you study, you have a good perspective. You begin to realize that what traps people is religion. It's the most dangerous thing on the planet. Because people kill each other for it. People, you know, I never discuss 3 things I never discuss with people.
Yeah.
Unless it's in a therapeutic intervention.
Okay.
Okay. Religion, politics, and sports. Because those three have such a high emotional state of prejudice.
Huh.
You see, that it elicits such negative emotions. It's incredible because everybody's trying to get you to go over on their side.
Yeah, you're so right.
All the people that knock on the door. I love that. I can't wait for somebody to knock on my door. You know, the people that go around, you know, they walk on the door and they say, do you believe in God? And I say, which one? And they look at me kind of weird, you know. I said, you know, the Catholic God, the Protestant God, the Mormons, the Seventh-day Adventists, the First Baptist Church, the Second Baptist Church, the Third Baptist Church. I said, which one are you talking about? The Mormons? Which one? You know, and they sit there bewildered. You know? It's like, you see? And I love people who say, you know, have you found Jesus? I said, I didn't know he was lost. See? Because it's stupid questions.
Yeah.
It's stupid questions. What you want to get in touch with is that spiritual essence that permeates the universe, its vibration. There's an intelligence out there that is benevolent. You just have to know how to tap into it. We get so clogged up with our emotions, our anger, our hate, our frustrations, our fears, our insecurities. And fear is the biggest thing in the world. It prevents people from greatness. It's so destructive. Yet fear can be very motivating. But generally speaking, it's a very destructive force.
Yeah.
And people don't live. They just exist.
Yeah. They work to get through the day.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea is really, is it that important? You know, is it that important? What happened last week or a month ago or 6 months ago? What about now?
Right.
I always tell the story, you know, when I was in high school, I was in the 12th grade, and I had this girlfriend. She was actually in the 10th grade, I think. And, you know, I thought she was the greatest thing in the world. I'm going to get out of school. We're going to get an apartment. It's going to be pretty with little curtains and a table. You know, this kind of like picture thing that you had in the 60s, you know, and everything else. Well, I got called into the Navy, and I wasn't out to sea 3 weeks. I got a Dear Dave.
Oh, no.
I thought it was the end of the world. You see, oh my God, you know, what's going to happen to me? I'll never survive, you see. But when I think about it now, there's no emotion to it.
No.
There's no energy to it. You know, nothing. It was like, no. Then I found out that she was married 3 times and had several affairs and 6 kids, and they got all kinds of problems. And I'm like, oh, thank God for unanswered prayers.
See, exactly.
You know? So there's somebody up there, you know. It's like, oh, no, don't do that.
We're going to fix this for you.
Yeah. Well, you see, in the Hawaiian culture, we have what's called an aumakua. Aumakua is basically, it's an unconditional spirit guide. Male-female energy that watches over you. Some people can call it an angel. Mm-hmm. You know, you can call it whatever you want. Avatar, they don't care.
Right.
You know, what you call it, what name, they're there. You know, so it's that male-female, made-he-them type stuff. And when you know that exists, then you can make that connection to that high self. And that high self will help you. But what blocks it from helping you is fear. What blocks it from helping you says, I'm not worthy, you know, or I don't deserve it, or I'm a bad boy, or I'm a bad girl. There's no such thing as a bad boy or bad girl. Yeah, some people aren't doing things that are very nice, but generally speaking, no, we are divine people with a divine spiritual growth pattern. We just need to have guidance. And there's too many charlatans out there. You know, even Jesus in the Bible, and I'm not quoting the Bible because I'm a Bible person, I just know it very well. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of the hidden what's in there that people don't understand because it's about couching and languages and certain things. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, even Jesus never really condemned anybody. I mean, even God in the Bible says the sun shines on the good and the not so good.
We're all God's children.
We're the same. It's okay.
He loves us.
You know, you want to screw up? Well, then you're going to reap what you screw up. I mean, it's part of a learning process that we go through in life.
We create
That's
our
it.
reality. Yep.
We create our reality by our choices.
By our choices.
So the secret is choices.
Yep.
We're the only creatures. When you're born, the only difference that you have between a horse and a pig is your mind, your conscious mind, your ability to make choices.
Right.
You see, that's the key. So every time you choose something, you're going to go this way or you're going to go that way.
Yeah.
Which way?
And fear and love can't exist on the same plane. So
You
you're going
can't-
to choose
well,
fear, you're going to choose love.
You can't hold 2 thoughts in your head at the same time. You can't hold 2 opposing thoughts. It's literally impossible.
Right.
So why the hell focus on the negative?
Right.
You know, you focus on the positive and then the door's going to open. So how do you get there? You want to know the secret of the universe?
Tell me.
$5. You're lucky. Stacy, I charge her $500. Whenever she asks me something, I'll be $500, please. So, the key is to disappear. This is what Buddhists taught. This is what the Zen people taught. And what I mean by disappear, you see, I'm going to give you a Zen koan. A koan is a riddle you can't answer. Okay, you ready? Mm-hmm. All right. You are when you are not. You think about that for a while. You are when you are not. And I'll give you the answer before we're done.
Okay, good.
Okay? Otherwise, I know you won't be able to sleep tonight.
No.
So, you know, that's the thing. But here's the key. If you want to touch God, quote, you're an angel, the angel, your Aumakua, which is your utterly trustworthy parental spirit guide. That's what it is.
Okay.
Okay. Your avatar, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. If you want to touch that and reach that high essence of consciousness, you have to disappear. So how do you disappear?
Right.
You got to practice this technique. you go to the store and you get a CD on nature sounds, whether it be a babbling brook, whether it be a waterfall, rain, could be wind, anything like that. Put headphones on, sit back, relax in a chair. Don't lie down because you'll end up going to sleep. Just kind of like in a relaxed position.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to the babbling brook. Just listen. That's it. If you just listen, bring your attention back to listening, or listen to the ocean. Just listen to the waves coming in and going out. Just listen, because that's Mother Earth breathing.
Mm-hmm.
You just listen, going in, going out. And if you constantly just focus on that, what happens is you shift. And all of a sudden, when you shift, your consciousness disappears and the unknown becomes known. Even if it's a flash for like a few seconds. And all of a sudden, you're one with the universe. Because how do we do that? We don't invent anything. It's just, we know. It becomes a knowing. Like when I told you when I first got that synthesizer.
Yeah.
No one taught me how to do that.
You just knew.
I just knew. Where did it come from? You see? So it's a knowing. You can't teach knowing through a language.
Right.
See, everybody tries to write books and speech and talk and everything else about this. No. Knowing, you can't teach it in a language.
No.
So the idea is, how do you do that? You disappear. And how do you know what I mean by disappear?
You get out of your own way.
Get out of your own way. Get out of the thinking, the processing, the
get out of your own
analyzing,
way.
the conscious mind chatter. Check, 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 check,
When
check,
you
check, check.
sit in the silence,
You
the
see?
answers come.
You go into still point.
Still point.
Okay, and still point basically means no thought.
Yeah.
Well, the only way you can get to no thought, because we all know each other, we're always yakking inside of our heads.
Uh-huh.
See, how do you get to no thought? Listen. Listen to the ocean. Just listen. And not on a speaker. You got to have headphones.
Okay.
Because it has to block everything else
Out.
around you out.
Okay.
You got to focus. Just listen. If you listen to the ocean, just keep bringing your attention back. Listen to the ocean. It'll talk to you. And then all of a sudden, you disappear. And when you disappear, you shift. The unknown becomes known. It's a marvelous experience when you hit it. It's life-changing.
Okay.
But it takes practice. And if you don't want to do that, listen to the rain. Just listen. Listen to the babbling brook. It will talk to you. Just listen. Nothing else.
And
And you'll
like
find-
Jen always says in meditation, she'll drift off and start thinking about her grocery list. But you bring yourself back.
You have to bring yourself,
Bring yourself back.
Yeah. That's basically what it is.
Okay.
I mean, meditation is being in the moment.
Right.
It's called Mushin. Mushin's a Zen word. Mushin. It means in the moment. If you're doing dishes, only think doing dishes. If you're making love, only think making love. If you're sitting there and you're trying to meditate, you don't think about if there's a roast in the oven. and is it, did I set it at 350? You know, that's what people do in church. They go to church, you know, and they're sitting there and, you know, they're supposed to be in a quiet meditative state, and they look and go, oh, it's a nice hat she has over there. You know?
Yes.
You see, we don't stay in the moment.
No, we don't. We
You see,
don't.
that's
There's
the problem.
So much stimulation.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mushin means in the moment.
Okay.
And if you're in the moment, you have that one thought, you shut everything else out. It's like I tell my patients, to handle stress and all the stresses of life, it's like a whirlwind, like a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you go to work and you're in the car and you're traveling, what is it? Like a wind just whipping around, you know, and you get caught up in it.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the eye of the storm?
You.
What is the eye of the storm? The eye of a hurricane. It's calm.
It's calm and peaceful.
It's quiet.
Yeah.
Seagulls are floating around, you know, just chilling out. The sea's calm. But all the winds from the outside, you know, are just really whipping. Well, that's life. That's life at the office. That's life at different places.
Right.
So if you can get this mindset that when you walk in and you see the winds just whipping around, you just say to yourself, eye of the storm.
Eye of the storm.
And you visualize taking one step. Just physically.
Uh-huh.
You take one step, you get into the eye of the storm. Now, what happens is you're calm, you're centered, and you don't react to everything like the storm. You respond to everything. And all of a sudden, you're going to find that everything else starts to get in sync with you.
Ah,
It
nice.
just takes practice.
That is a perfect pearl of wisdom for us to end the show on.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's always amazing talking to you. I don't think there's been one instance that I haven't walked away without learning something.
Well, appreciate that.
So thank you for sharing. And
It's a
thank you
pleasure.
for being with us tonight.
Yeah.
And thanks for the amazing dinner and the concert.
I like to cook.
Yes.
I like to play.
It was great. Any questions? No? All right. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget you're awesome.